Would I be the a-hole if I sign away the right to my kids? I am a single mom of two wonderful boys. I honestly feel lucky about how they've turned out. They're both giants for their age, but so kind and sweet. I share custody with my ex-husband, Drew. We've been divorced for 5 years now. Every year, it's becoming harder and harder to support us. It's all my fault, and I don't know what else to do. I was with my husband for 14 years, married for 11. We got married relatively young and had kids soon after. I remember the last couple of years feeling trapped in my marriage. Life became very monotonous and boring. I felt resentment for missing out on my youth and not being able to join my friends on night outs. Drew and I grew apart. We neglected us, or maybe I neglected him, and he stopped trying. Who knows, but it certainly wasn't exciting. All these feelings built up in me until one day I told him I wanted a divorce. I couldn't imagine living another month like that, let alone the rest of our lives. He pleaded for us to try to work it out, maybe go away somewhere. But once I said it out loud, I felt like I had a purpose. Once he realized there was no going back, he said we should split amicably. I'm not proud of the way I acted back then. I got a lawyer and went through with it. In the end, we split the assets, including the proceeds from the sale of the house, evenly and shared custody of the kids, just like he offered. I got child support, only $19 more per month than he initially offered. No alimony, and a pile of attorney's fees. The first few months after the divorce was great. I had a good support system, plenty of babysitting options as everyone was trying to be supportive. Friends took me out, keeping my mind off things and helping me make up for lost time. But after a while, the help dried up. Everyone became busy with their own problems. It was much harder to make ends meet on a single income. The apartment I rented was a big downgrade from our house. I was tired all the time. Whenever Drew had the boys, I would just end up watching TV and lying around instead of going out. I've had one semi-serious relationship, but it's extremely hard to meet men who are serious about building something. Drew became very distant. I've heard of co-parenting situations where exes get along great. Not Drew. He'd never responds to my texts, unless it's about the kids. As the boys get older, they're enrolled in 3 sports each, and there are more and more expenses. I can't afford to buy them everything they need, not even half of it. Last month, I finally talked to Drew about it. I asked him to be more involved in their lives, especially financially. Drew flat out refused to contribute a cent more beyond child support and what he pays for when they're with him. I explained that I simply can't keep up with everything. He finally said they're welcome to stay with him full-time, and he'll cover all their expenses and be wholly responsible for them if I give him full custody and sign away my rights. He said I could still see them whenever I like, but I wouldn't have any legal rights. I know the boys would love to live with him. They're too nice to say it outright, but it's obvious that dad is the favorite parent. Am I the a-hole for even considering this? Would I be the a-hole if I went through with it? Edit? To answer some questions people have. Yes, I have tried to talk to Drew about modifying the custody agreement. He refused any change to our current arrangement unless I sign away my rights. I also talked to Drew about increasing child support and told him I'd go to court. He said, "Go ahead, you'll end up with less." After last time, I'm very hesitant to go down that road. I don't want to tell the kids to drop an activity they love because I can't afford it. Now for the top comments. You don't sign your rights away. You can legally give him full custody with visitation. Then she also better be prepared to fork over child support. You're the a-hole. Why would your ex talk to you about anything other than the kids? He's your ex. Of course kids cost money. Get a second job if you need more money. Instead, you're looking to build a serious relationship with someone. Really? It sounds like you just want to dump your kids on your ex and pretend you're a teenager again. It sounds exactly like this. I realize that every situation is different, but if the dad pays half the expenses and child support and she still can't make ends meet, it sounds like she may not be working. In this situation, you have to find a source of income. Also, I agree she sounds like she wanted to relive her youth, but figured out she couldn't just go back in time and regrets it now. Why is she texting her ex about anything other than the kids? Sorry if this is harsh, Opie, but you can make this work if you're able to get a job to supplement the support you're receiving. Even if it's difficult, it's easier than giving up your kids, or at least it should be. He only talks about the kids. What do you think co-parenting is? You chose to divorce him. You don't get to have him act as your husband just because you feel lonely. You need to get over yourself, and maybe you're right in thinking your kids will be better off with their father. I think this happened because Opie lawyered up and played hardball, only to get a predictable amount of child support. It has made the ex resentful, and rightly so. I deal with someone at arm's length if they were unduly litigious with me. Yeah, sounds like Dad already punched the numbers into the state's website and thus offered her what the state would order. She instead got greedy and went to a lawyer in order to get more than what the state says she should get, as well as alimony. Lawyer knew they wouldn't get more, but happily went along in order to get billable hours. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling off my wedding after my fiancé's surprise gift? So I, 30 female, have been engaged to my fiancé Mark, 32 male, for about a year, and we've been together for 3 years. I've always known Mark to be a bit unconventional. He's very creative and sometimes takes things a little too far in the name of surprise or excitement. Most of the time, I love his adventurous spirit, but this time, not so much. A couple of weeks ago, we had a small get-together with some close friends to celebrate our upcoming wedding. Mark mentioned he had a surprise for me, which I figured would be something sweet, like a heartfelt gift or maybe a romantic gesture. As the night went on, after a few drinks, Mark finally revealed his gift. He pulled out what looked like a box from a special jewelry store. My heart raced with excitement. I assumed it was a lovely bracelet or a special memento for our wedding day. But when he opened the box, I was absolutely stunned. Inside was a key to a house he had supposedly bought for us. I was taken aback because I had no idea he was even looking for a real estate. My first reaction was one of shock and confusion. I thought this was a huge decision that we should have discussed together. As I processed the moment, I realized the house wasn't just any house. It was a fixer-upper on the outskirts of town. While I understand that fixer-uppers can be a great investment, this particular house needed a ton of work, major renovations and repairs. Frankly, I had no desire to live there. Mark hadn't consulted me at all before making this purchase, and I felt blindsided. Normally, I would be overjoyed about investing in our future together, but the fact that he made such a significant commitment without involving me crushed me. I quietly took the key and told him we needed to talk. As we stepped outside, I expressed how hurt I felt that he had made such a big decision without discussing it with me first, and that it felt like a violation of trust. Mark got defensive and insisted that this was a wonderful surprise, a way for us to start our lives together. He said I was missing the bigger picture and that I should be excited about our future. Honestly, I just felt overwhelmed and confused. I told him I didn't think we were ready for this and that we should focus on our wedding first. After a heated argument, I made a gut-wrenching decision to call off the wedding. Mark was devastated and our friends were shocked. I had just ruined what was supposed to be a happy night and I felt horrible. Since then, Mark has been trying to reach out, saying he wishes we could talk it over, but I can't shake the feeling that he disrespected my feelings and my input in our relationship. I've been reflecting on whether I overreacted. Am I the a-hole for calling off the wedding after a surprise gift? Not the a-hole. Making a major life decision without you isn't a good way to start a marriage. It also sets a precedent for the marriage. Not only is it a surprise house, it's a surprise fixer-upper. That's not even a gift, it's a job. I don't think anyone would assume their partner would want to be left out of such an important choice. And most likely, she wasn't on the title if he already purchased it, not the a-hole. That was my takeaway too. He buys it himself and it is not marital property. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if he bought the house without you, then it's in his name. He's the sole owner, but he wants you to help pay for the renovations? Nope, bad move. If the marriage fails, it's still his house, and you'll be left with nothing. Buying a surprise house before marriage? means it is his house. It's a classic tactic of manipulative partners to secure assets in their own name before marriage, then use their partner's contributions to improve those assets without giving them any ownership rights. Not the a-hole. Terrible judgment on Mark's part. But the real problem here was his response when you pointed out the obvious. He argued with you. The light bulb didn't go on for him that you don't make decisions like this without your partner. This is a sign that he'll surprise you with a new puppy, his brother moving into your house, or quitting his job to take out a loan for a family business, and then argue with you when you say it should have been discussed first. Plus, a fixer-upper sounds hideous. Exactly. Mark didn't just sign OP up for a huge financial obligation she never asked for, but for a chaotic, messy life in a fixer-upper. Not everyone is excited by that. He took away her autonomy and demanded she be excited about it. My heart would have sunk, just like OP's. Not the a-hole, and maybe this was just the wake-up call OP needed. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I leave the state, abandoning my family? I, 25 female, moved 3 hours away from home to live with my boyfriend, who was fortunate enough to land a government job, and 2 of our other friends about 3 months ago. This move was largely due to my mom, 61 female, consistently taking most of my money, leaving me with almost nothing to my name. She had surgery on her back this morning, so I took off work and returned home for 3 days to help her and take care of my high support needs autistic twin brother, 25 male. My 2 aunts, Amy, 63 female, and Beth, 69 female, and I were all under the impression that my mom would be discharged tomorrow morning. However, after the surgery, the hospital informed Aunt Amy that my mom wouldn't be released until the day after, due to the high level of pain she's experiencing. The issue is, I am due back at work that morning at 9 a.m. The day before her surgery, my mom dropped a bombshell on me. She said I owe her $6,000 before she will take her name off the car we co-own. I was 17 with no credit when it was first purchased, and the down payment came from my dad's life insurance. Between this demand, rent, and my upcoming car insurance payment, I cannot afford to take more time off work. Both my mom and aunts are calling me selfish for needing to go back home to work. They're insisting that I call in and request emergency family leave, which, to my knowledge, isn't an option at my company. They want me to stay and care for my brother. While it's true that he legally cannot be left alone, he attends a day program from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. 4 days a week, including the next 2 days. This means my aunts would only need to watch him for a part of the day. I even offered to leave later in the day that I'm comfortable with, as driving in the dark in my new area is challenging for me. But this was also seen as not enough. I feel conflicted. While I don't want to potentially leave my brother without proper care, my aunts have already admitted they don't want to stay overnight with him. Aunt Amy refuses to stay at our house because of the puppy my mom recently got, while Aunt Beth claims she'll get sick if she spends too much time around my brother, citing the number of people he interacts with. At the same time, I have a life I'm working hard to build, and I can't afford to jeopardize my job and financial stability. So would I be the a-hole if I go back home to work and leave my brother in the care of my aunts for a day? Now for the comments. You have 2 aunts who can step in until your mother goes home. Go back to your new life. You will not be the a-hole. It's time your mother understands you are moving on. You're right. It's time for your mom to understand that you're an adult with your own life. You can't be responsible for her and your brother all the time. Your aunts are adults too, and they need to step up. You're not abandoning your family. You're taking care of yourself. You've got a job, a life, and a future to build. Don't let them guilt you into staying. You're not the a-hole here. Not the a-hole. Your mother has stolen more than enough from you. I don't even know why you would go back to help her in the first place. Seriously, this sounds like a lifetime of nightmares and abuse. Cut her off. Give the car back. Make a break. I have obligations that I cannot and will not set aside. Mother is forcing me to pay back my car deposit and is holding it hostage until I do. And since she took the majority of my earnings when I lived with her, I have no savings. The money I earn pays my rent and bills. I will not be staying to help because I have a responsibility to myself first, and then to my roommates who rely on me to pay my share of rent. I will not be staying. There are two of you. Figure it out. Aunt Amy, the dog isn't that big of a deal. Deal with it. Aunt Beth, wear a mask if you're concerned about getting sick. Those are my suggestions. Then leave. Last story. Am I the a-hole for having another kid and not spending enough time with my daughter? I, 29 male, serve in the U.S. Air Force and currently live in the U.S., but my 7-year-old daughter lives in Switzerland with her mother. Her mother and I met when I was stationed there, and our daughter was born during that time. When my assignment ended, I had to return to the U.S., and we agreed that our daughter would stay in Switzerland, as her mother could provide a more stable environment. For the past 3 years, I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend, and we recently welcomed a baby boy, who is now 3 months old. While I'm thrilled about having another child, my daughter has been struggling with the changes. I visit my daughter a few times a year and video call her multiple times a week. We've always been close, but since I told her about the baby, she's been acting out. During our calls, she's distant and often refuses to talk about anything. When I visited Switzerland recently, she was cold, avoided spending time with me, and said things like, "You don't love me anymore," and "Your new baby is your real family now." Her mother has also told me that she's been misbehaving at school, getting into trouble, and becoming increasingly withdrawn. Her mother blames me for her behavior. She says our daughter feels abandoned and replaced by the baby, and that I was selfish for having another child when I already struggled to spend enough time with her. She argued that I should have focused on strengthening my bond with our daughter instead of starting a new family. I've tried to reassure my daughter that I'll love her just as much as ever. During my visits, I've spent one-on-one time with her and try to make her feel special. I've also suggested bringing her to the US for an extended visit so she can see where I live and meet the baby on her terms. Her mother thinks this isn't enough and says our daughter needs more from me now, not later. Balancing everything has been incredibly hard. My Air Force duties are demanding, and while I've done my best to stay connected, I know it's not the same as being there in person. At the same time, I want to be present for my girlfriend and our baby, who also need me. Am I the a-hole for having another child and not being able to spend as much time with my daughter as she needs? This is complicated. You're not an a-hole for having another child, but your daughter is a child who misses having a full-time father. Seeing that her brother will have a full-time dad when she doesn't hurts her deeply. Ideally, you would live in the same country or city so you could be as present as possible. Annual visits and video calls can't replace the day-to-day presence of a parent. Honestly, I don't know what the solution is for your situation. Exactly. Kids internalize this so much. My guess is she doesn't see this as the situation being complicated because he can be a full-time dad, just not to her. Man, it sucks for the poor girl. My question is, why are there 2 kids and 0 commitments? It's like you have no clue that condoms exist. You knew you weren't going to stay in Switzerland, but you decided, hey, I'll just go have unprotected sex with anyone, and if she gets pregnant, then whatever. Now you're back in the States doing the same thing. Are you going to do the same thing at the next place that you are stationed at? You are most definitely an a-hole. Your daughter is 7, and you never thought about how having a part-time dad would affect her until now? You're the a-hole for not coming up with a real plan all this time, and for having another baby before resolving the issues with your first child.